What's up, baby dolls? I get a very common question. How on earth did you buy HEX when it went up so much? That's all people see. You see, if everyone looks at the previous charts, they're just seeing up and up and up and up. Look at this. You go, whoa, how did you get long? I thought you only buy dips. Look at this log chart I've been showing. Well, log charts are propaganda, friends. They're bullish propaganda because people want to feel like they're early. So if you never show them a super vertical chart and you always show them like these steps going up and down, like a log chart, then think, oh, sweet, it's cool. I'm not early or not late. But here's the thing, man. Your log chart friends, why are they bullish propaganda? Because they start from when you didn't start. You see, this was your real chart. Okay, this is all I knew HEX when you start here. Okay, it's the same thing with every other chart. So right now, this is all everybody knows. I know what everyone want to do. They go, hey, you know, if you are one of the 6 dudes who bought down the bottom, you are killing it. Oh, of course you are, friends. Shout out to the gentleman, by the way. There's a guy in the comment section who's basically saying, you're wrong about PulseChain. You're wrong about PulseX. HEX is going to outperform all of them. It's the greatest thing ever. I'm a genius. By the way, he does call himself a genius. He said, I'm a genius. I did really, really well. I know exactly what I'm doing. Learn from people like me. And then I ask him, okay, what did you do? I'm not making this up. He literally says he went all in on first day HEX and he bought in on the ICO and that's it. That's literally his claim to fame. And I was just like, huh? Am I the only one reading this? Luckily for you, the other baby doll friendship cult members, they commented like, are you really telling us the only thing you won at was going all in on HEX and now you're believing that all your decisions from here are 100% correct and there can't be any alternative? That's weird. It's true, friends. So yeah, this guy's still up 400x. You know, see, friends, you don't even know when people talk like that, it's bearish. It means, oh, you haven't been rinsed out enough. But then these people aren't going to get rinsed out because they're very, very minority. Okay, so I'm just showing you, I use the same principles when it comes to like Zen, Titanx, any other coins where there's future inflation unlocks or people still saying they're up here and there. It's a very, very useful tool to think about. So I always get asked, right, HEX did that pump. How on earth did I get in? Because, you know, you look at this chart, you're like, what the hell? Now I got in down here. Why did I get in? You're like, huh, that's not much of a dip, you know, 60% here and there. But let me show you, my baby dolls. You're looking at the wrong chart. The real chart to look at is HEX versus Ethereum. See, friends, I had a suspicion of sorts. I was like, that's weird. Why are you mean reverting against ETH? This is just my theories, right? I was like, that's weird. You raised money in Ethereum and now you mean revert against it? That's strange. So let me continue. This is the HEX chart. By the way, you got to know this as well. This is the HEX ICO price. You see that? So this might be our equivalent sacrifice price for PulseChain and PulseX. That's what it might be, friends. Okay, so that might be like here. You see that? So if you draw that box, it goes up, it goes up, it comes down. It goes up, comes back down. You know what I mean? It's a long time that it took. By the way, this is from 2020. Friends, that's over a year. Over 1 year, by the way. And that's with the up part. In a nutshell, you go, okay, please fractal this mirror reflection to the universe. Okay, what that basically means is, let's say PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX pump from here. Let's say they do like whatever they do, 4 or 5x. I don't know what they're going to do. It basically means, you see this sacrifice price we're looking at now, where the Pulse versus ETH, we might come back at the end of the year. Then you might say, that's bullocks, that's not bullish enough. I know, but I'm just telling you, that's what HEX did. That's what HEX did, okay? Most of HEX's gains, friends. Friends, you know HEX went down 98% down here on USD. Okay, just to show you. So, you know the first 50x, so here's a HEX adoption amplifier. There you go, bang. It's actually 98%. I'm being conservative with this. Now, you are earning inflation. So, effectively what that means is, if you got in day one and you got in at the low, the guys at the low got a 50x multiplier for DCA buying. Now, you might say, oh, does that mean I get to kill it? Maybe, but I guarantee most of you used all your money on the PulseChain and PulseX sacrifice. You don't have much to DCA by the bottom. And the market caps and liquidity functions were much different back then because it's just smaller. That's it. It was just the user base of people was smaller. There was 5 to 10,000 people. Now you have 200,000 people. The ship is bigger to carry, okay? So look what ends up happening. So it dropped from this part, 89%, bang, and then it rounded off, you see? So it also had this big drop, and it did that. So if you're looking at the USD chart, you think, oh, where's my value? But you got to see there is value here. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. So HEX dropped, HEX ETH, right? Remember, it's HEX ETH dropped 80% from its top and provided an ample buy zone opportunity for its next leg. Now, this is where it gets, a bit more. Here we go. Interesting. Let's have a look. So what ends up happening is there are two things to look at, friends. There is, if you measure from the low to the top, HEX ETH does like an 83x, whatever it is. If you measure from the adoption amplifier to the top, it only does a 4.7x. Now, of course, you got inflation, so I just round it up to 5 just to make it look up. But that's a big difference, isn't it? You might think, whoa, man. I didn't hear about the 5x. I heard about like the 100 to 150x in the first rally. Yeah, now you know where it came from. It came from the bottom people. But HEX went a bigger percentage down than these. HEX went 98% down for them. PulseChain did it. PulseChain only went 66% down. That's huge, friends. 66% down. So if you had $100, you still got $34 in PulseChain, but you had $2 in HEX. You see that? From 34 down to 2. So here's the thing, man. People took the risk. It is what it is. People took the risk and bought, and they got compensated for that with big rewards. When you have a whole team and a whole army behind you and 68 streamers, 140 content creators, you don't get as much of upside as you want, right? When you want to take on that risk. By the way, friends, there are probably coins that can give that. It's just that you don't believe them. You see, it's really hard to go for these big things, right? It really is difficult. You don't even believe them yourselves. Most of the volume was done in the HEX adoption amplifier. Just like how PulseChain and PulseX, all of the volume sacrificed bought in at the top, and now we're all stuck together. Now, the HEX adoption amplifier. So the ICO phase raised 90,000 ETH. Most of the volume was done around there. And I've already gone through, right? So where do you think, friends? So what do you think we're going to get? So it doesn't even matter what you want. I know what you want. You want the highest number, same as me. Do you think if we follow HEX, we're going to get 83x from the low? From PulseChain, PulseX, and HEX in this year? Literally this year, 83x from the low? Or do you think we're going to get 5x from day one SAC? Right? That's where it's up to you. What do you think is going to happen? Of course, the bullish case, people will say, we're doing 83x this year. I know, but they said we're going to do 83x every year. You've been wrong every time. Guys, I'm just saying, maybe this is this is the year they get right. This is also important to note. Now, not enough people talk about this HEX ETH chart because, friends, I don't care what you say. You just can throw out, people say, FUD. I understand, man. You can't, this chart exists. You can't look at this chart and say it doesn't exist, okay? Can we just confirm this chart exists? Yes. Now, why is this chart very inconvenient truth? It's because HEX ICO was here, all right? It goes up, mean reverts down, pops, mean reverts down again. You are now here for a year and a half. So what does that mean, friends? I know them. What that means is, look, let's just look at this again. It means people who got into HEX, you have made nothing over Ethereum down there. Nothing. Zero. You've basically taken all that risk. You've handed over your Ethereum. You've got no compensation. Now, what are people going to say? No, wrong. There was staking. There was this. There was that. I know, friends. Yes. I understand there's a few yield here and there. But you just got to think from that chart and that price point, if you hand over, for example, friends, if you hand over Bitcoin for an ICO at 10 cents, when Bitcoin's 50K, and now Bitcoin doubles, right? And then your ICO only doubles over a year, and it's still around there. You're like, oh man, it's a year and a half. I have not been compensated for this risk. You get what I mean? That's the same story. Then, mysteriously, Bitcoin tops out, and then everything's down dead. And then after Bitcoin tops out and it starts crashing, we have an enormous giant rally to coincidentally hit exactly 10,000x as Richard Hart promised. Okay, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out, friends. I mean, he basically alluded to D. Eric on stage. He basically said, he goes, not even basically, he did say, he goes, hey, what if in a hypothetical scenario, somebody took profits out of the ETH and then went and bought back their HEX or whatever, or their crypto, like a stock buyback. It says that with his own mouth. It basically implies it. Also, we had the PulseChain sacrifice announcement here. So there was more Euphoria. So you could say how much of it was him, how much of it was everybody else. Everyone wanted it. There was the whole notion everybody believed PHEX and EHEX were going to have more value than all that. So you had all of this mumbo jumbo. It was 2021 bull market. You had all these, friends. So that's the same thing that basically was mentioned. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Have you noticed that Richard basically said, hey, last time in the bull market, you know, HEX went up after Bitcoin topped out. I think he's basically telling everyone, someone who quacks like a duck, don't know who it is, they might sell the next Bitcoin top and do it all over again. So you better hold on. Okay, that'll be crazy. That'd be crazy. Like, I don't know how much Bitcoin he owns, but I could imagine, friends. I'll just tell you, like, let's say he owns, I don't know, I'm just guessing. Let's say he has 30,000 Bitcoin, 30,000. And I'll say, well, what would 5,000 Bitcoin at like 80K do? $400 million injection. That'll be huge if that happened. Bang, 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 bang. And a wallet sacrifice and MetaMask, like the potential here is big. Now, if you're new, friends, you're probably looking at this like, this sounds like the most manipulated casino Ponzi circus here and there. No. Let me tell you something. The whole game of crypto works like this. It's just that we are lucky enough that someone who's a benevolent whale has told you this can happen. They don't tell you this can happen in Ethereum, in Cardano, on Solana, on Matic. All of this stuff happens. All of it. Friends, there are people holding a big portion of their coins. You know they can't get out, right? They literally can't get out. There's only one way for them to get out. Mark up the price and get a season to get distribution up there. That's how they do it. Now, this is where the risk is, right? The risk is, what if Richard's planning to dump all the coins? But I'll just say, that's okay, man. There's a risk. There's a risk. You wake up, everything's at zero. He just keeps dumping with the OA. Okay? Of course, there's that risk. However, I am taking the bet that he's not going to do that. That's me. Okay? You can decide what you want to do. I'm wearing a Pikachu hat. I don't give financial advice. I'm just telling you, I think he's not going to do that. I think he ain't going to sell anything of his own coins. I think he's going to sell the Biddy coin. That's what I think. And I think he's going to use the funds to reprice us higher. Friends, let me tell you something. The guy's a genius, okay? So, and what's a genius, dude? See, me and you, we spend like 3 months to figure something out, okay? Him, he looks at a series of data, like very simple indicators. Simple, so simple. And he can draw a genius conclusion. He might look at, open interest, Solana, OTC, bang, bang, bang. And he's like, I see what they did. And he probably looks at volume. He goes, okay, so to get $1 billion worth of retail volume, they bought $50 million of spot Solana through a level. And then that bought them like 3 months of distribution time. There you go. But you had to time it with Bitcoin. You see what I mean? If this went over your head, don't worry about it. You'll probably never have to worry about it in your life. But I'm just telling you, he probably looked at something like that. Go, okay, that's what I got to do. Except he ain't going to distribute the coins. Now, a lot of this, of course, is 100% speculation. But hey, welcome to the world of crypto. If there was certainty in this, we ain't getting any gains. So this chart, though, friends, it's just rough to know that. You go up, and we reverted the whole thing down. Now that PulseChain, PulseX, and EHEX exist. Now, I'm going to draw a horizontal line. If you add up the valuation for Pulse, PulseX, and EHEX, if you add them up, it's around there. You see that? See, we are still actually, see how it went? This is what the chart would look like. Went up, we had the testnet V3, come back down, and now we are starting to like scoop up. Okay, that's exactly where we are. See there, not actually down here. But look, it's still great. Look at this. You made a floor, didn't you? Compare the two floors. Okay, so in the bull market, the floor went higher with these super speculative spikes. Okay, I'm going to draw these simple for you again. This was the HEX ICO floor, and now here's the new bear market floor, isn't it? Okay, so actually, let's be honest. Let's just draw them perfectly like that. You see that? The floor went up. Now, you might say, oh, well, the floor didn't go up 30,000x. I know, friends. I know, man. This thing is difficult. You're dealing with hyper volatility, speculation, products here and there. But this is the game. It's nice, at least, after all of that, the floor's going up. However, it's the floor of the whole ecosystem. That's the thing that kind of sucked, where we diluted so much. We had so many ideas and so many products. You're basically a victim of your own success and confidence, where you just made too many things at once. And I guess it's what it is, right? I don't know how it's all going to plan out, but luckily for us, Hart's Law, they're all liquidity bonded. It goes up from here. So I've already explained, right? You got to see after Bitcoin and everything else topped out, there was a rush up there, and then the market just rejected all of it. I know that people don't like hearing that word, but it's true, friends. We just got to accept it. Yeah, we just got to accept that's what the market did, man. It went up and it rejected all the way down. It came back down. Now, you might ask this question, hey, if this is the equivalent of day one SAC and we're only up here, does this mean theoretically we can go like 20x? If you want to know these numbers, friends, you see this HEX up here, that is like 20x on ETH, okay? That's Pulse doing 20x on ETH and then round tripping all the way, 90%. Now you're down back to day one SAC ratio, which is, I'm actually going to show you. We are at the break-even day one SAC ratio for PulseChain today. Have a look. Pulse ETH. See? Since July 2021, since July 2021, we did the SAC. Ethereum is up 60%. Pulse is up 60%. So the ratio is about the same. Now, it's not exactly that, but you get the point, right? It's like 50%, 60%. It's roughly around there, okay? So that's why I've drawn this horizontal line as a marker. Effectively, if you bought on the corrupt SEC attack, you buy a cheaper Pulse ETH ratio than everybody else. Okay, so this is basically where we are now. Okay, it's still like, break even. That's what I tell you, man. But do you think it's coincidence? Look at this. How come there are break even soy boys here? I'm telling you, the collective mindset of the market, people, there's something in people innate memory. They know, oh, something about this is like, oh, I better get out. Now they're shaky maybe for the wrong reasons because they're soy boys. But you can see, right? Look, I'm not making this up. You know this, right? Pulse is 60% above day one SAC. Why are there break-even soy boys here? Look, it's literally, this is the Pulse ETH ratio. Because remember, back then, Ethereum was $1,800, and then you got the price 0.0001. Now, Ethereum is 60% higher, like $2,800, and also Pulse is 60% higher. So the ratio is basically it. Look, put it in another way. The truth is, you have not been compensated at all since July 2021 for taking on the risk. At all. Not even in Pulse. You haven't been compensated for the average person. Of course, big whales get a discount, etc. But the average person, you have not been. Effectively, you're in Pulse to outperform ETH, right? Just like how you're in HEX to outperform Bitcoin. If you are the same ratio after almost 3 years, moving on to 3 years, then you're like, wait a minute, I've been holding this the whole time. I know, friends, I know. This is the game. It's risky, man. It's risky. You don't know if these things are going to uptrend. You don't know what's going to move. I know. What if Richard did a gambit card and he just started pumping this bag up like on the launch higher? You don't know. You just had no idea. But it is what it is. That's why the only people who make it are diehard believers. HEX stakers, people who just refuse to sell, people who use Matty Allen's time pays me, time lock, okay? People grabbing those T-shares, people just sitting, refusing to sell, friends. Peanut brains, they're like, I'm not selling at all until Euphoria. Get out. I don't care how low the price is. I don't care what Eric says. Those are the people who make it, okay? It's not the people who are like, oh, I'm worried. We're only break even, or we're down 80%. I know. It's the game. So finally, we reach this point, right? If, this is the 2 points here. If Pulse repeats HEX, there are 2 zones it can go to repeat it. Because a lot of people, friends, when they say, all of us, HEX did a 10,000x, that implies for people, PulseChain and PulseX will do a 10,000x from their low. But what they're actually saying is they go, hey, similar founder. But the way I'm thinking is, okay, similar founder though. How about we don't take the 10,000x talking point? Why don't we take other parts of the dynamics of the chart and we try to mirror reflect them and just see what performance people got, not the absolute pico bottom, like random type of like bottom buying stuff, because PulseChain and Pulse didn't go that low for you to do it. And this is what we got, okay? What we get is if we go here, right, this first circle around here, this is 5x above day one stack, and up here is 27x. So I guess that could be the range, right? Of course, I already tell 90% of you in the comments already saying 27x, 27x above day one stack. Yeah, man, I want that too, man. I don't think we're getting that though. I'll take it. I'll take it. It's just, it's tough, friends. It's tough. You know why it's a bit tough? It's because that puts Richard Hart's ecosystem at 100 billion valuation. Okay, 6 times. So if I do, yes, it puts it around, you know, 70 to 100 billion valuation this year. I really, 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 really hope that does. I hope that does. But yeah, what if we go to 5x and then we stop out for 8-9 months? So, you know, so I've just fleshed this out for you. So you got to see, right? How was I able to buy HEX cheap? I used the ratios. That's it, right? This thing was down, bang, dropped 80-90% and dropped down, and then the next thing came out. So maybe that happens again. So we just went through the story of HEX, PulseChain. What can PulseChain, obviously PulseChain and PulseChain just reflecting on each other. What can they do going forward? Well, if they repeat HEX, it's not a 10,000x from the low. It is 5x from day one stack. That's actually repeating HEX's performance. It's just that it never went so far to give you that right price at the very, very bottom. Also up to 27x. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Let me know in the comment section. Like, subscribe, belly button, or catch you soon.